In the 1960s, students against the war began by protesting on campus, but they very quickly understood that they needed to direct their energies towards the real sources of power behind the Vietnam War, and that was not the university. And so they protested in front of corporations. They tried to stop Dow Chemical from producing napalm. They shut down Wall Street one day. They went to the State Department, the White House, Congress, the media. Those are the sources of power. And on top of that, the students in the 60s wore their arrests as a badge of honor. They wanted to go to jail. That was the whole point. You know, I got a lot of friends in their 70s who will bore me with their stories of that night, you know, they spent on Rikers Island after smoking all the cigars with the president of Columbia University. It's like they're playing wiffle.
Just the cigars?
Yeah. It's, you know, it's like staying in your own backyard and playing wiffle ball instead of going out. And so this I do not understand because, to begin with, given the structure of investment funds, it's impossible to divest from all the people you want to divest from. It's just the nature of the beast. Then it seems to me the only thing that you can really do is cut off ties to Israel. And if that's the case, you should be upfront about that, saying that's what you want. But that's a question. How do two other old people read this?
Well, I think it's a difference in the attitudes of the generation. I think our students look to us to solve problems in ways we did not look to administrators to solve problems. Yeah. I mean, they see us and their parents as friends, as people who help them solve problems. So it doesn't surprise me that focusing in on the administration and the most immediate people who are sort of parent-like to them is what they do, as opposed to going outside of it. We just didn't expect administrators to solve our problems, and we were antagonistic towards them, and they're much less really antagonistic to authority figures than we were.
So I think it's, first of all, I think if next year, if we have this panel on this subject, we should have someone younger than the three of us on the panel, because we have a kind of a generational view. But you know, I don't actually blame the students for protesting where they're protesting. That's where they are. That's, you know, they're in school. That's where their friends are. You know, it's ultimately about performance and about raising awareness as much as it is about anything else. And so it doesn't matter. And it's also not exclusive. I mean, there have been many protests on the streets here in New York at the same time as there were protests at NYU and at Columbia and various other campuses. So I think, you know, you see atrocities going on, and you stand up and you make your voice heard, and you hope that that will bring some attention and some concern to the problem. So I wouldn't criticize the students for where they're protesting. I do kind of agree.
Can I just stop you for a minute, David? They're talking about Gaza, where people are dying. This is not a time to go through a student ritual of protesting in the backyard and making sure that your record is clean before you leave and can go on to your investment job. If Gaza really is your issue, and not yourself and becoming yourself or performing or anything like that, risk something.
I don't think that's
fair. Go out there and risk something.
I think.
I mean, there are bombs.
I don't think that's fair. I mean, so what did the students risk, during the Vietnam era? They risked, being arrested for engaging in civil disobedience. What did the students today risk? They risk getting arrested for civil disobedience. It's not a big risk at either point, but that's basically what people risk. Now, there were people like the Weather Underground who risked more by murdering people and blowing up bombs and things like that, but I don't think that's what you're suggesting, Mark. So I think you're being a little harsh on the students.
Well, the other thing they risk too, it's other thing that seems different than my focus is not the 60s, maybe the 80s, is that people lost jobs. There are people wanted the names of folks. law firms took offers back. I mean, you have people on the outside who are playing real hardball in a way that I don't, if it happened, I don't know. I just don't know how many how many firms and other places rescinded job offers from people who had been parts of organizations. Maybe some organization signed something or made some statement. If you were just in it, you could possibly lose your job. So these are people who are, carrying huge amounts of debt for law school, $200,000 or $300,000, and then all of a sudden your job that was going to help you pay that back disappears. So I do think they risk some things.